Hello and welcome to Energy Connects discussions, where we bring you the latest news and updates from the world of energy. Our conversation today takes place ahead of the World Utilities Congress 2024, which will be held in mid-September in Abu Dhabi. I am very delighted to be joined by William Pazos, the co-founder and co-CEO of AirCarbon Exchange. William, thank you so much for your time and for being here with us today. Since its inception, AirCarbon Exchange has grown significantly in the carbon trading market. What are your thoughts on the carbon trading market, and how do you see it evolving over the next couple of years?
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. I think that the carbon trading market is actually a very efficient way of delivering investment dollars into carbon mitigating activities, right? So it's the most efficient way to finance projects by allowing market forces to determine how dollars are put into play. And so I believe very strongly that carbon trading will be a major component in our fight against climate change. In the current environment, there are a lot of nuances in the carbon markets that actually limit the way the carbon trading market can scale. And I think the simplest way to look at it is if you look at the buyers of carbon credits, right? So the buyers of carbon credits today are corporates that are buying mostly to reduce their carbon footprint on a voluntary basis. And because of that, the dollars that are being used by these corporates to buy carbon credits, in the most part, are dollars that are also part of marketing budgets, right? So in order for the carbon markets to actually scale, corporates need to be mandated in order to reduce their carbon footprint as opposed to having a voluntary type of regime, right? And so that's the stage that we're at. We started with a voluntary scheme, marketing dollars being invested in the carbon markets. And now what you're seeing is this transition away from a voluntary market into more of a compliance market. So obviously in Europe, they have the European Emission Trading Scheme, and the EU ETS is successful. It's been around for 20 plus years, and it's done its job, right? But everywhere else in the world, carbon is pretty much a voluntary activity, but that's changing. So if you look at Singapore, for example, they've added a carbon tax, and so corporates are going to be forced into buying carbon credits in order to pay for that carbon tax. Brazil, for example, is in the process of putting out an emission trading scheme. If you look at South Africa, for example, they have an emission trading scheme, and so that all of that ecosystem, what they're doing, what is happening is that you're creating this global marketplace where corporates are being mandated as opposed to doing it on a voluntary basis. And that's what's going to transition the carbon markets into a much bigger player, other than just an efficient way of diverting investment dollars on a voluntary basis. So that's where I see the state of play.
Thank you for walking us through this overview. I wanted to discuss with you the role of technology in this. So how do you see the technological integration of things like blockchain and such have enhanced the transparency and efficiency in carbon markets? And what new technological advancements can we expect from ACX?
Well, I think we're the first major exchange to be built 100% on using DLT, distributed ledger technology. And what that does is obviously provides an infrastructure that's completely transparent, with an immutable record of every single transaction on a public chain. And so that's very unique to us. It allows us to securitize carbon into tradable instruments very quickly and efficiently. But where I see things moving going forward is that if you look at carbon credits, a carbon credit is nothing more than a certificate that evidences a reduction of 1 ton of carbon over and above business as usual. So there is a level of trust that needs to be generated by these carbon credits, right? So how true is it that 1 ton of carbon was actually reduced over and above business as usual? And I think that's where technology maybe has the biggest play. So if a lot of the players in the market, either through their registries, relationship with registries, or exchanges, will be linked to some form of artificial intelligence. And AI is particularly well suited to cross-reference carbon credit data points and alert the holder of those carbon credits of potential problems. And so I think that technology has a very interesting place in terms of enhancing the integrity behind a ton of carbon reduced.
The carbon market faces various challenges, such as regulatory uncertainties and market volatility. So how does ACX address these challenges, and what strategies are in place to ensure stability and trust within your platform?
Well, everybody has a role to play within the carbon markets. Our role is to basically create a price signal for carbon projects within a regulated framework, right? One of the things that is missing, and it's very simplistic to look at, is that, if you are a farmer that's farming for soybeans, you take a lot of things for granted. So there are banks out there that will finance your seeds. There are companies that will prepay for the end product. There are insurance companies that are giving you weather insurance. There's an entire suite of financial products that are available to investors that are actually, and that is not available to developers of carbon projects. And the reason for that is that there's not a clear price signal, right? And I think that's the role that exchanges play. We create a transparent global marketplace that gives the marketplace a price signal that's true. Because in the absence of exchanges, the transactions happen on bilateral basis, and they happen effectively behind closed doors. And so what ends up happening is that banks and other people that are looking to invest in projects don't have a clear price signal and can't take price risk. And so one of the most important roles that we have to play in this is to create the price signal. So the way we look at quality is within a certain parameter, right? We only deal with the largest registries, the more traditional carbon projects. We let the market decide what is the price of that underlying carbon. So if you are a corporate and you're buying a carbon credit that's trading in the market at 50 cents on the dollar, I would venture to say that you are probably riding a very thin rope in terms of the integrity of the underlying carbon credit. It probably doesn't hold a lot of water. So in terms of quality, where we draw the line is it has to be an established registry. internationally accredited, but we let the market decide if it's a carbon credit that has different levels of integrity. So we don't curate carbon per se. As long as it's a Vera credit, for example, it would be on our exchange. And we let the market decide which one is better than the other.
Thank you for highlighting that. As you know, the World Utilities Congress is going to be taking place in mid-September. So what are your goals for this event, and how do you plan to showcase ACX's contribution to the global energy transition and sustainability initiatives?
Well, I think we work in partnership. One of our partnerships that we have globally is with E.ON, which is one of the largest utilities in Europe. We provide the carbon credit market for their subsidiary, which is called Seagrass. And so I think that, the energy industry goes hand in hand with the carbon industry. It's very important. It's a very sort of symbiotic relationship between the two industries. So I think our main goal is really to create awareness for ACX as a trusted counterpart in the region.
William, thank you so much for your time and for this insightful conversation. A big thank you to everyone watching. Just a quick reminder before we go that the World Utilities Congress will be taking place between September 16 and September 18. You can register at worldutilitiescongress.com. Do not forget to follow us on social media to stay alert with the latest energy news. I will be back soon with another discussion. Until then, goodbye.